Okay, we'll get started with Connecticut. Head coach Gino Oriema, two of our all-tournament team representatives from Connecticut, student athletes, Felina Mosqueda-Lewis and Brianna Stewart, who was voted most outstanding player. Coach, would you start us with comments, and then we'll go to questions for the student athletes.
Yeah, first, I can't say enough great things about the kids from Dayton and the way they compete and the way that team competed tonight, and how well prepared they were and how well they executed their game plan. You know, we knew going in this was going to be really, really, really difficult, and nothing that they did really surprised us. We knew they could shoot the ball, and we knew that they were going to be very difficult matchups for us. But having a game plan and executing it are two different things, and they were just phenomenal. That's probably one of the best teams we've played in the last 5 years. And I think from our standpoint, I think we needed that kind of a game. We needed a game where we were challenged. We needed a game where we had to respond. And these two here, you know, they're winners and they're competitors. And whenever they're put in a situation like that, that's what they do, exactly what they did tonight. And I'm really, really happy for both of them.
Okay, questions now for the student athletes. Please raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you. Third row, center aisle.
Are you serious?
On the right.
Mark Singles from the Albany Times Union. Kalina?
You didn't know you had it either.
Well, I do.
Jesus. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. What was going through your mind when you see yourselves trailing at halftime for the first time this season?
I wasn't too worried about it. You know, I know the way my teammates are able to respond, and you know, more than anything, I think our team was excited that, you know, we had a challenge in front of us, and we knew that we were going to have to overcome that, and it was just going to take a little more push and, you know, us kind of slowing ourselves down and taking control of the pace of the game.
Front row, right side, Pat.
Kalina, you set the three-point mark tonight, but you did it with baskets that meant something. How much more special is it to have done it in that manner?
You know, it probably just makes it more special just because of, you know, the atmosphere of the game and what this game meant for our team, you know, making it to the Final Four. And more than anything, I'm just proud of the way my teammates were able to come back, you know, from trailing at halftime and, you know, maybe facing something that we haven't faced yet this year, and being able to kind of band together and overcome it.
Questions for the student athletes? Front row, left side.
Brianna, when it was halftime and you're down by one, you know, what's going through your mind?
You know, I think a few things. I think that, you know, you want to make sure you continue to stay confident as a team. And, you know, we were getting good shots. Excuse me. We were just moving a little too quickly on the offensive end, and Dayton was hitting a lot of their shots. And, you know, we wanted to make sure we contested them more than we did in the first half and the second half, and really go on a run. We hadn't had a chance to get on a run in the first half, and we did that in the second.
Front row, right side, Doug.
For both of you guys, what does it mean to get back to the Final Four? I mean, Cam, it's your fourth straight year. Stewie, it's your third straight year. What does it mean to be back in the Final Four again?
Got it. I answered two questions. I answered two. Your name first. It's your fourth straight. I haven't played 4 years yet.
I don't think the feeling changes, you know, whether it's the first one or the fourth one. Each one is special in its own way, and I think that for me, it's special just because it's my senior year. It's special because of the group of girls that I was able to do it with this year, and, you know, like I said, because we were able to win it on a game that wasn't easy, a game that really challenged us.
Sorry, my chair's squeaking. Sorry.
Going off of what Kalina said, I think, Coach said something to us before the tournament started this year, and, really embrace it like it's your first tournament that we've ever played, and it will be our last, and it's Kalina's last, and, we want to make sure we, enjoy every single game that we play out on the court, and tonight was a lot of fun.
Additional questions for the student athletes, please raise your hand if we have any. Front row, right side.
Brandon, can you talk about your matchup with Allie today? She mirrors you in a lot of ways in the way she plays. Do you enjoy that personal challenge when you get a player like that?
Well, I've known Allie from USA basketball when we were in high school, that kind of thing, and I knew she had a versatile game, and we play very similar with the inside-outside presence, and we just want to really contest all the shots she took, and in the first half she made everything she took.
Any more questions for the student athletes?
For either player, could you talk about just the UConn fan turnout tonight and how much did it help you guys, especially as you were trying to pick it up in the second half?
I think that having the opportunity to play in Albany was awesome for our fans, just because it's still close to where they can travel, but we can get people from other areas, and I'm from 2 hours away, so I had a lot of family come as well.
Last question for the student athletes, Pat.
Kalani, you're wearing a shirt that says "Cut the Nets." It's not something you guys do at the regional final. So, can you talk about how is your mentality going into a regional final, and why don't you cut the nets?
Question wasn't for me.
No, I think just Nike made the shirts, first of all, I'd like to say. Thank you, Nike, for these shirts. And I think for us, it's just we're excited and happy that we made it to the Final Four. And, we have the option of cutting the nets down, but we would rather save that and that special thing for, if we get the chance to cut the net down one time at the end of the year, and we want to cut it down for a national championship. So we just rather would save that. We still think it's special for us, but it's just something we'd like to save and do one time if we could.
With that, we will dismiss our student athletes and now go to questions for Coach Oriema. Please raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you. Left side, third row on the aisle.
I know you've had a lot of teams, Coach, a lot of great teams, but do you feel like this year's team is a complete team? For example, like Texas tried to grind it out in the middle, and that didn't work. And then you had Dayton that was obviously hitting 70%, but no team can do that. But offensively, you still was able to hang with them and then take their best shot and offensively knock them out. Do you feel like this team all around is a complete team?
I think we have. I think we have all the elements of what really good teams have. I think your first part of your question is I'm fortunate that I've had some teams that were just so superior to their opponents in everything. Size and quickness and speed, and and we lack some things. This year's team lacks some things. We don't have that big body in the middle, and we don't have a senior guard like Bria Hartley, So we've had to zig and zag a little bit to figure out how we could play to our advantage, and I think the challenge that we face today gives you a chance to prove whether or not you're a good team. If they're a great team, then they'll get a chance to prove that next weekend. I think tonight they they proved that they're a really, really good team, and they're really good when it matters the most.
Just a note, there's about 12 minutes remaining in the UConn open locker room in case any media needs to know. We'll continue with questions. We'll start with Pat on the front row, right side.
You know, if I looked back correctly, I don't think you have trailed at halftime since the Notre Dame Big East final in 2013. How important do you think it was for this team to face that kind of adversity in this tournament?
Yeah, we have to be careful at Connecticut and on our team. What normal teams face every year, a lot. If it happens once at Connecticut, it's adversity. So we have to be careful that we don't make it any bigger than it normally would be, you know. You play a game and one team's trying to score, the other team's trying to stop you from scoring. And sometimes the other team just makes shots. So we went in and we're down one, and the demeanor of our team really wasn't that different than when we've been in the locker room up 21. There was a look on their faces that was really more of a we can't wait to go out there and take care of this. There was no, you know, oh my God, what happened? So I think we got to be careful, you know, at UConn that sometimes we need to be treated like mortals, and it's okay. Now, the other team's allowed to make a lot of shots too. You know, they have the same basket we do.
Front row, left side.
Coach Kalina gets the record. You know, talk about her improvement really from like the first dozen games of the year, and how happy are you for her?
You know, we were playing at the University of Pacific, and it was the opening game for us this year. And she made 10 threes. And somebody on the bench said, you know, she just tied Maya Moore's record for most threes in one game. You want to leave her out there. So, you know, I went over to Kay and I said, Kay, you really want to break somebody's record in a game we're up 50? Come on. So she says, no, I don't want to do that. I said, why don't we save it for another day? Getting records, if you're lucky, is part of you being really good, part of being a great, allows you to set records. But when you set them and you make them when the team needs them the most, you know? So down the road, you know, when somebody asks Kay, yeah, you broke the record, huh? Yeah. It won't be, well, I was in a 120 to 40 game. No, it was a game where we needed all 7 of those. And to me, I think that's more indicative of who she is now. I don't know that she could have done that when she was a freshman. Kay wouldn't have been out in the game looking to knock those in when she was a freshman. She would have been looking for somebody else to do it. And that's how far she's come, that she wanted the ball every time down the floor. She deserves everything that's coming her way. She's become a really good basketball player.
Third row, right side.
Gino, the not cutting the nets down, how long does that tradition go back there? And do you discourage your players from cutting the nets down because of the ultimate goal is to win the national championship?
Yeah, I mean, I never told them not to. You know, it's not something that we've done. I don't remember if we've ever done it. I don't. So it's not like all of a sudden we're, you know, not doing it. It's just, you know, every championship I think should be celebrated. I understand that. And maybe I create an environment where nothing else except the national championship is acceptable. And that's probably not great on my part. But I've never had them say, hey, can we cut? 1 year, maybe 2 years in a row, I say, hey, you guys, we'll bring the ladders out. You guys want to cut the nets? They said, no. We'll cut them down next weekend. So I think it's just been ongoing for as long as I can remember.
Front row, right side, Doug.
You know, two-part question. First off, 8 straight Final Fours. What does it mean to you as you get older? All different. And second off, I know there's one team left to go, but your thoughts on Notre Dame, South Carolina, you guys being there so far, 3 of the 1 seeds?
Listen, I love going to the Final Four. I don't care how many times it is, how many times in a row, what the total number is. And I love it for the fact that some of our players have never been there. And some of these older guys, they worked really, really hard. Not that other kids around the country don't work hard. I mean, that team we played tonight works their butt off. So when you get a chance to go, you feel like you did something pretty significant, you know? And you also did it over and over and over again. You know, the whole four years you're at Connecticut, you got a chance to go to the Final Four. Some kids don't get to go once, you know? So it's pretty significant. It's pretty meaningful in a lot of ways. The only thing I don't like about the Final Four is that all the really good teams that you saw during the regular season, they're all going to be there too. So you celebrate this for like 1 or 2 days, and then you look up and you go, oh man, now we got to do that again, you know. But that's the way it is in women's basketball. The absolute best teams usually get to the Final Four. So I'm not one bit surprised that Notre Dame's there, South Carolina's there, and whoever wins that game tonight, I won't be surprised if either team wins. You know, that's the way it is in our game. The best teams go to the Final Four pretty much every year.
We have time for 1 or 2 more questions for Coach if we have it. Front row, left side.
Can you talk about the way you, in the second half, how you went out and contested their shooters? I know obviously they're not going to shoot 70% from the three-point for an entire game, but what changed in the second half? We got together with the coaching staff, and we made a strategic decision that we told the team that in the second half, we would all really, really appreciate it if one of you would just put their hand up. You all don't have to put your hands up, and you don't have to put it up all the time. But if just one of you would put your hand up, it might catch on, you know? We started the game with a certain sense of how we were going to guard the ball screen. First 4 possessions, we didn't do any of that. So when people ask me, this is a great team, they're so intelligent, they are just as dumb as every other team that's playing with a bunch of 20-year-olds. We say something for 3 days, game starts, right out the window. And I'm glad that those guys made all those shots because it reinforced to our guys that, look, it's not, well, if I put my hand up, I put it up. If I don't, I don't. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it does matter. And they learned that tonight. And in the second half, there was much more of a sense, okay, here's how we're going to guard those ball screens. And everybody's going to guard them like that, understand? And they worked really, really hard. I mean, that first 10 minutes of that second half, we got every loose ball, we rebounded, we contested shots, we forced turnovers. I think we took their legs out from under them a little bit. You know, I think they weren't able to just cleanly look at those threes. But see the last shot of the game the kid took with 1 second left? From like 75 feet. Some bitch almost went in, didn't it? Yeah, I know. That's the kind of night it was. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. I knew it going in. I was sick to my stomach all day today.
We have 2 more questions. One, right side, far right side, Mel.
Gino, the way it's played out with the 3 teams that are in, it's kind of like when you roll back in Philly and the same kind of flavor, even though we'll be in Florida in 2000. if you had three coaches from the same Philly backgrounds. Can you kind of just speak to that whole commonality and, and how that plays out?
I think it'll be a little more congenial this year, the Final Four. It got a little bit testy last year, so hopefully we can get back to let's just go play and let's see what happens. But you know, Notre Dame's lost a lot of good players the last couple of years, and they've managed to go back, and that's just how good they are and how good Muffet and her staff are. How good those other kids have become throughout as the season has gone on. They're not just, you know, Jewel Lloyd and a bunch of guys that show up for pregame. They've gotten really, really good. And, you know, I watched South Carolina play, and I watched what those kids did at crunch time. And, you know, they've got a player, Tiffany Mitchell, that's just, I mean, she's as good as anybody playing today, and they're a lot better than when we played them earlier this season. So maybe it's something in the water in the Philadelphia area, you know. We like to win, and I'm happy for both of them. I'm happy for Dawn. I'm happy for Muffet, and I'm happy for their teams. And I'm looking forward to seeing them when we get down there.
Last question, Pat, front row, right side.
You know, it's a one-point game at the half, and who knows, but would UConn Tennessee be good for the women's game in the Final Four, or would you rather not have to deal with those storylines for the next week?
Yeah, you know, at this point in the season, you have no choice of who you play. You have no choice of who you play. We play the winner of tonight's game. If it's Maryland, that poses a certain set of challenges for us as a team. If we play Tennessee, that poses a certain set of challenges for our team that we're going to have to address. All the other stuff, I could do without. And it would be a disservice to the players on both teams if that three-ring circus happened at the Final Four. And it would be a disservice to the other teams in the Final Four if this became all about Tennessee and Connecticut and how good it is for the game. No, what's good for the game is what Dayton did tonight. That's what's good for the game.
That's it. Thank you, Coach.
You got it.
Thanks, everybody. Woo. Thank you, man. That was fun, huh? Yeah. Woo.